now, Long Island's largest radio news team brings you the Associated Press award-winning program, Newsline.
Coming up on Newsline Tuesday, February 27, 2024.
Israel and Hamas deny the likelihood of a ceasefire.
The Federal Trade Commission seeks to block a supermarket merger.
Details have been released on the murder of an Augusta University student.
And the Michigan primary looms closer.
In international news, farmers' protests are still lively and ongoing across Europe, and in Nigeria, a countrywide workers' strike is taking place. My name is Antonio Schoenhart, and I'll have both of those stories in just a moment.
In entertainment, who is returning to Broadway this summer? And Taylor Swift's dad did what? I'm Matt Fisher, and I'll have all that and more later in the broadcast.
In sports, the Nets try to make it a third straight victory. The Knicks look to capitalize after last night's lucky win, plus spring training baseball action. I'm Kenny Foreman, and I'll have all that and more later in the broadcast.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alexa D'Amato.
And I'm Angel Ravelo. We begin tonight's broadcast in the Middle East. Israel and Hamas denied the likelihood that negotiations for a Gaza ceasefire will soon advance. This follows an announcement by President Joe Biden that in exchange for the hostages being freed, Israel will halt its offensive during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan.
I hope by the beginning of the weekend. The end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday we'll have a ceasefire.
The president made these comments the night before the Michigan primary, where the state's sizable Arab-American population is pressuring him because of his unwavering support for Israel's offensive. Following the attack on the southern Israel by Hamas on October 7th, Israel's air, sea, and land campaign has claimed tens of thousands of lives, destroyed significant portions of the urban landscape, and forced 80% of the residents affected by the conflict to flee.
The Federal Trade Commission is suing to block a merger of two of the largest grocery giants in the country. The merge of Kroger and Albertsons, a $24.6 billion deal, would eliminate competition and lead to higher prices for millions of Americans, according to the FTC. Kroger and Albertsons decided to combine in October 2022. The corporation said that a combination would enable them to more effectively take on major competitors like Costco, Walmart, and Amazon. According to J.P. Morgan analyst Ken Goldman, Walmart holds 22% share of the U.S. grocery market, while Kroger and Albertson together account for around 13%.
New details have been released on the man who killed an Augusta University student last Thursday. According to the arrest affidavit, 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra is accused of disfiguring the skull of 22-year-old Augusta University Laken Hope Riley. According to the chief of police at the University of Georgia Police Department, Ibarra had no prior relationship with Riley. Details on how the murder took place are not available at this time. Riley was honored in a vigil organized by her University of Georgia sorority sisters yesterday.
Allies of Alexei Navalny have alleged that Vladimir Putin had Navalny killed to end conversations about a prisoner swap that would have freed him. The deal included reporter Kevin Gershkovich and former Marine Paul Whelan. Russia would have received Russian hitman Vadim Kraskevov, who is in prison for life in Germany. Putin has previously tried to get Kraskevov back, and he was almost part of the deal for WNBA star Brittany Griner and Whelan, though Germany refused to partake.
Michigan's primary next Tuesday poses challenges for both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Trump faces resistance from GOP voters favoring Nikki Haley. Meanwhile, Biden confronts discontent over his handling over the war in Gaza. Arab Americans in Michigan, a key state, voice displeasure with the Biden's pro-Israel stance, opting for uncommitted in protest. Michigan's primary outcome remains uncertain, but may shape the political landscape for the general election.
Coming up after your Newsline International report with Antonio Schoenhart, Eric Adams wants to roll back New York City sanctuary laws, a Nassau County bill was proposed to add fentanyl tests to overdose prevention kits, and a Long Island Nets player is shot in Philadelphia. But first, your Newsline traffic and weather update with Jordan Jenkins. WRHU News Time is 5:35.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
Good evening. Tonight's forecast brings us scattered showers to turn your commute into a splash zone. For the first time in a long time, can you tell I'm smiling? It's 50 degrees. The high temperatures are beautiful, wonderful, and any other adjective that describes nice weather. 55 degrees, with a not so bad low of 49. But hold on, don't hold on to that smile just for too long. It's gonna be a long rainy night starting at 8 o'clock. Now, let's slide to traffic. In Garden City, an auto accident between Stewart and Washington Avenue has the right lane blocked, creating backups to Franklin Avenue. Road construction on Hempstead Turnpike between Rockaway Avenue, Westminster Road, and Broad Street have created slight delays in the area. There are 5-minute delays on the Cross Island Parkway. Road construction in Lynbrook between Morris Avenue and Village Avenue have created slight delays in the area. And side roads in towns in Hempstead and Freeport have slight delays. My second and final update is later in the broadcast.
Newsline. International news.
We start today's report in Europe, where right here on Newsline, we have been covering the ongoing massive farmers' protest. Today, I have yet another update. Farmers across Europe have taken part in another wave of protests, specifically in Brussels, Madrid, and Warsaw. Yesterday, farmers blocked a border crossing between Poland and Germany, threw bottles at police in Brussels, where they also set stacks of tires in flames. In Madrid, farmers gathered once again to demand action on cheap supermarket prices, all a culmination of what they say is unfair competition from a board. Agricultural ministers from across the European Union have pledged to do more to help these farmers, hoping to de-escalate the already powerful protests. These agricultural ministers convened yesterday in Brussels. The European Union has already chopped some parts of its flagship Green Deal environmental policies, removing a goal to cut emissions from its 2040 climate roadmap. Quote, "We're here again in Brussels today as farmers because the European Union is not listening to our demands. Our demands are for fair revenue," end quote, said Morgan Odie, the general coordinator of the farming organization La Via Campesina. Quote, "We produce the food and we don't make a living. Why is that? Because of free trade agreements, because of deregulation, because the prices are below the cost of production. So we demand the EU to move on this," end quote. In Brussels, more than 900 tractors jammed parts of the Belgian capital. In Madrid, farmers from across Spain blew whistles, rang cowbells, and beat drums, urging the EU to loosen regulations and instill change to its Common Agriculture Policy, or the CAP, including various subsidies and other programs. As always, I'll be here to notify everyone of any updates regarding the farmers' protest, right here on Newsline. Moving away from Europe and into Africa, we go to Nigeria, where Nigerian workers have started a 2-day protest nationwide. Nigerians are currently living through one of the worst West African economic crises in years, triggered by surging inflation and the consequences of monetary policies that have pushed the currency to an all-time low when compared to the American dollar. The trade union NLC has called on the government to abandon the World Bank and IMF policies, which they believe are adding to the hardship in the country. The situation is at its worst in conflict zones in northern Nigeria, where farming communities are no longer able to cultivate what they eat, as they are forced to flee violence. Once again, as this story develops, we will have updates right here on Newsline. With your international report, I'm Antonio Schoenhart, WRHU.
WRHU News time is 5:38. Thank you, Antonio and Jordan, for those reports. Today is Hofstra's Day of Giving, and some students decided to give in a different way. WRHU's Cameron Bowden has the story on the blood drive held here on campus.
Starting at 8 a.m. today, Hofstra students lined the multi-purpose rooms to participate in this semester's blood drive. Organized by the New York Blood Center, the drive is open for all eligible students and will be used in hospitals and medical centers in New York and New Jersey. I spoke with some Hofstra students about why they're donating blood today, as well as the impacts they think their donations will have in local communities. Alana Lee Hughes, a sophomore neuroscience major, told me why she's donating blood today.
I think it's particularly important because I'm healthy and able to, and I know there's a lot of people in hospitals that need it, and if people suddenly stop donating because it's a minor inconvenience in their day, then those people wouldn't get what they need.
Another student, Austin Wallace, who is a freshman film and television major, told me their reason for donating blood.
I had a friend who's volunteering because she's in the nursing program, and she just told me to come, so I did.
I also spoke with Doreen Facina, manager of business development for the New York Blood Center, who told us about the involvement Hofstra medical students have in the drives.
What we usually do is we reach out to the medical students, the PAs, the nursing students. They all try to come and help us.
Facina also told us the impact that this drive will have on the greater Long Island community.
We usually on an average collect about 250 units of blood, and about each unit helps to save 3 lives, we like to say. So usually the blood drives here help anywhere between over 700 to about 1,000 people depending on the collections that we have for the day. One of the most important things is 1 in 3 people in their lifetime will need blood. The blood center needs an average of 800 pints of blood every day just for people who are in the hospital. That's not for any emergency that might come in. And we are totally dependent on the community to help us to meet those needs.
The donations from today's students will help people in the greater Long Island area who require blood transfusions daily. Today's blood drive ends at 8 p.m. in the Student Center. For WRHU Reporting, I'm Cameron Bowden.
Thank you to Cameron Bowden for that report.
Mayor Eric Adams is advocating for an annulment of New York sanctuary city laws. Adams opposed rules that restrict the city from informing federal immigration officers of when an immigrant is accused of committing a crime. At a City Hall news conference, Adams claimed that the lack of communication between the mayor's office and ICE is, quote, problematic. Though other sanctuary cities do not normally work with the National Immigration Enforcement, Adams' spokesperson said that he wants policies to return to those of the Bloomberg era.
6 Democratic members of the Nassau County Legislature have filed a bill that would include fentanyl test strips and the prevention kits that are provided to the residents of Nassau County. In a recent announcement, Nassau Legislature Minority Leader Delia Darigi Witten said, quote, "These test strips can find fentanyl in any form of the drug. These are not a silver bullet, but is the only tool we have. And it's something we know it's going to work. Each test strip costs $1, and the bill is asking for $10,000 of county funds to be invested in the venture."
Long Island Nets point guard Terry Roberts was shot early Sunday morning. The 23-year-old was wounded by a stray bullet as he was walking into a nightclub in Philadelphia. Roberts was in critical condition and was taken to the hospital shortly after the incident. The suspects that might have been responsible for the incident fled the scene in a gray Nissan Altima. No arrests have been made, and police are still investigating the incident.
In Huntington, officials are considering a surcharge for Dix Hills Water District customers. The $120 annual fee would fund upgrades to meet the state drinking water standards, targeting contaminants like dioxane, PFOs, and PFOA. These forever chemicals pose health risks and require costly treatments. Public hearings on March 12 will discuss a surcharge and 2 bond approvals totaling nearly $8 million for water improvements.
Sticking with drinking water, New York Senator Chuck Schumer has announced $13 million in federal funds destined to clean up the Roosevelt Field contaminated groundwater area Superfund site in Garden City. The site has been contaminated with toxic chemicals impacting Long Island's drinking water. The funds, made available through the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Jobs Law, will support the cleanup efforts to improve public health and the environment.
In Brookhaven, Supervisor Don Panico's salary has increased by 21% and council members' pay by almost 24%. Some citizens and watchdog groups question the timing and transparency of the decision, as this act follows the council's absorption of the disbanded town's planning board's duties. Panico states that the raises are for the additional workload.
A 61-year-old man was found dead in his Hempstead home yesterday after police responded to a call of a man not breathing. The man was discovered in an upstairs bedroom with a blunt force trauma injury to the head and was pronounced dead at the scene. The Nassau County Police Department is investigating the incident and has not released the man's identity. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Nassau County Crime Stoppers.
In New Hyde Park, 24-year-old Joshua Wilk has been charged with attempted murder for assaulting his parents with a knife in their home. Wilk attacked his sleeping parents with a knife before attempting to choke his father outside of the house. Responding officers intervened and arrested Wilk. Both victims sustained severe lacerations and are in critical conditions at the local undisclosed hospital. Wilk faces multiple charges including attempted murder, assault, criminal possession of a weapon, and resisting arrest.
Residents in the tri-state area can expect hazy skies today due to wildfire smoke drifting in from the southern U.S. The smoke is expected to stay high most of the day, causing some air quality concerns and a noticeable odor. However, rain arriving tonight will clear the smoke and improve air quality. Colder air from Canada will push the smoke away until the weekend, when warmer southerly winds could bring back hazy conditions.
Earlier today, members from banking firm Goldman Sachs came to Hofstra and hosted an event on the importance of networking. My co-anchor, Alexa D'Amato, has the report.
Hofstra alumni at Goldman Sachs came to the Leo Guthart Hall. Many students were excited to have an opportunity to talk to Hofstra alumni at companies they want to work for.
It's such an amazing opportunity. I mean, for me, getting to network and meet with professionals from the real world is something that's so incredible and amazing.
That was senior finance major Julie Singh. Despite Goldman Sachs being a banking firm, many students outside the business school attended. Biochemistry major Michael Wassi came to the event.
Just recently, I learned that a lot of these companies are looking for chemists and biochemist majors, so this is exactly what I've been working for the last 3 years for.
The members of Goldman Sachs who came were Hofstra alumni, giving the students a chance to glimpse into their future.
And I think having folks that came from Goldman Sachs today, but also sat in their seats a few years ago, they were students here, and are now alumni, lets them see the trajectory or the path that they took and how to be successful.
That was Senior Vice President for Development and Alumni Affairs, Alan Kelly. The event lets students learn about networking with companies that they hope to work with in the future. From WRHU, I'm Alexa D'Amato.
Thank you to my co-anchor Alexa D'Amato for that report.
Coming up, your Newsline Entertainment Report with Matt Fisher. But first, your Newsline Traffic Update with Jordan Jenkins. WRHU News Time is 5:46.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
Rush hour is like a bad roommate. It always shows up eventually. Overhead sign inspection and road work on the southbound ramp to exit 10 Old Country Road in Plainview has one lane closed from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. tomorrow. On the Southern State Parkway, 5 p.m. rush hour creates 17-minute delays. Road work and traffic signal repairs going both directions on Long Island Avenue in Babylon have one lane blocked, creating delays until Friday, March 1st, 2024. An accident on Southern State Parkway going west towards Meadowbrook State Parkway has the left lane blocked, creating backup all the way until exit 23 Meadowbrook Road. There's a 7-minute slowdown on Rockaway Turnpike, and additionally, there are delays in Brentwood and Westbury. With your Newsline traffic and weather updates, I'm Jordan Jenkins, WRHU.
Newsline. Entertainment.
Taylor Swift's dad has been accused of attacking a photographer in Australia. According to reports, just hours after the star's final show in Sydney, Taylor's dad, Scott Swift, charged 51-year-old Ben McDonald after exiting a boat with his daughter. As confirmed by Sydney authorities, the incident occurred at Sydney's Neutral Bay Ferry Wharf and was reported around 2:30 in the morning. A statement released by the Sydney authorities reads, quote, "Police have been told a 71-year-old man allegedly assaulted a 51-year-old man at Neutral Bay Wharf around 2:30 a.m. Before leaving the location, the younger man reported the incident, and inquiries are now underway by officers attached to the North Shore Police Area Command. The man did not require medical treatment." Quote, according to a statement released by Taylor's representatives to The Hollywood Reporter, quote, "Two individuals were aggressively pushing their way toward Taylor, grabbing at her security personnel, and threatening to throw a female staff member into the water," quote. Sydney police have confirmed that the investigation is still ongoing. In film news, the owner of the real-life Saltburn mansion is in distress after the fans keep visiting the property. 63-year-old Charles Stamford Saxville, who owns the Saltburn house, reported to the Daily Mail that the film's popularity has led to a major influx of fans, influencers, and tourists illegally trespassing on his property to take pictures and videos. In a statement released to the outlet, Saxville stated, quote, "I never imagined the amount of interest there would be. It's quite weird. I don't take it as flattering. How would you feel if people were taking pictures outside of your house? I prefer the interest to blow over, but I can't make it blow over." TikTok is one of the main culprits for the influx in visitors, as influencer Rian Williams shared the directions to the mansion on the platform. In Broadway news, this summer, 2-time RuPaul's Drag Race winner Jinx Monsoon is set to return to Chicago. Last year, Monsoon made their Broadway debut as Matron Mama Morton for a limited 8-week engagement, becoming the first drag queen to play the role on Broadway. A year ago, in an interview with CBS's Christina Ruffini, Monsoon shared their thoughts on playing the role.
There's no wink, wink, nod, nod with your casting. You are just cast in a role, and that's it.
The fact that I got my Broadway debut and am fulfilling a mission statement of mine to show the world that it doesn't matter the gender identity of the human being playing the character. All that matters is that you get the character.
Monsoon is scheduled to return to the Ambassador Theater June 27th for a total of 20 performances through July 12th. Once again, I'm Matt Fisher, and that was your entertainment update.
WRHU News Time is 5:50. Thank you, Matt and Jordan, for those reports. 4 crew members from an unflagged ship are scheduled to appear in a Virginia federal court today, where prosecutors are expected to argue that they should be held without bond while they await trial. According to U.S. officials, the unflagged ship was carrying Iranian-made missile components to the Houthi rebels in Yemen. In January, the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy SEALs boarded the vessel in the Arabian Sea. During the operation, 2 Navy SEALs drowned after one slipped into the gap between the vessel and the SEAL's ship, and another jumped in to try and save him. This all occurred in the wake of the continued Houthi attacks on military and commercial ships in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea.
A man scheduled for trial in the shooting deaths of 2 police officers has instead pleaded guilty and been sentenced to life in prison. 29-year-old Alexander Campbell pleaded guilty yesterday to 2 counts of using a firearm during a felony and 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Bridgewater College campus safety officers J.J. Jefferson and John Painter. Officers Jefferson and Painter were known on the Bridgewater College campus as the dynamic duo and died tragically on February 1st, 2022, when the officers responded to a call about a suspicious man in an area outside of the college's Memorial Hall.
During a White House meeting, President Joe Biden urged those in Congress today to swiftly pass funding to avoid a looming partial government shutdown and send weapons to Ukraine. This meeting came almost 2 months after Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson agreed on a $1.59 trillion discrepancy spending level for the fiscal year that began in October. Regardless of the deal, and primarily due to infighting by Republicans who control the House of Representatives, Congress has failed to pass spending bills to fund the government.
Florida lawmakers have halted efforts to pass a bill protecting unborn children, fearing potential repercussions for the state's in vitro fertilization clinics. The move follows Alabama Supreme Court's ruling allowing parents to sue for wrongful death of embryos, prompting clinic closures. Democrats aim to capitalize on the issue for electoral gains, while Republicans advocate for accessibility.
The Bridgeport, Connecticut mayoral election ended in controversy yesterday, with incumbent mayor Joe Ganim and former aide John Gomez facing off amidst allegations of ballot stuffing. Ganim, a former mayor with a corruption conviction, is under scrutiny from Gomez as 2 primaries and a general election were nullified by court rulings. Despite voter fatigue, the election continues with Ganim backed by top Democrats.
Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, has announced $1.7 billion in food pledges made by partnership of different companies that include the Harlem Globetrotters, Kaboom, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. This is in an effort to help Biden reach his goal of ending food insecurity by the year 2030 and bring awareness to the roles nutrition and physical activity have in overall wellness. Emhoff said during yesterday's press relief, quote, "These efforts, and there's many more, are going to make a real difference in real lives." According to the Economic Research Service at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, 17 million households in the United States are food insecure.
Emergency personnel were called in yesterday when Donald Trump Jr., the eldest son of the former president and frontrunner in the GOP, received mail at his Florida residence containing an unknown white powder. According to a person with knowledge of the situation, test results on the substance were not conclusive, but authorities do not think it was fatal. When Trump Jr. opened the letter in his home office, which allegedly included a death threat, hazmat suit-clad emergency personnel had to be called. According to Jupiter Police, the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office is in charge of the investigation.
The United States Food and Drug Administration have fined a dollar store chain, Family Dollar, over $1 million after an investigation found on the chain's warehouse was infested with rodents. The warehouse was being used to distribute food, cosmetics, and medical devices to over 400 stores across the southern United States. The retail chain pled guilty in a federal trial on Monday to one misdemeanor of selling goods while being held in unsanitary conditions.
Thanks to a $1 billion donation from a former professor, the Albert Einstein College of Medicine will now be tuition-free for all students. Ruth Gottesman, who had been affiliated with the college for 55 years and is the chairperson of its board of trustees, announced the gift and its purpose to faculty and students. The crowd responded to the announcement with joy, erupting into applause and even some bursting into tears. According to the Education Data Initiative, excluding undergraduate debt, the average medical school debt in the U.S. is over $200,000.
And for our sports report, we have Kenny.
From the Philip Cavallero Sports Desk, this is your Newsline Sports Update.
On the hardwood, the Nets play the Magic on the road tonight. They'll hope their own magic from a 2-game winning streak doesn't run out, especially after last night's domination of Memphis, in which 7 players notched double figures. These two teams last battled back on December 2nd, which saw Brooklyn on top 129-101. Mikal Bridges dropped 42 points in that one. Tip-off is scheduled for 7 in Orlando. Bringing things back to the city, the Knicks host the New Orleans Pelicans for the first time this season. Last night's 113-111 win over Detroit ended in controversial fashion. Pistons head coach Monty Williams was irate that Dante DiVincenzo was not called for a foul just seconds before Josh Hart made the game-winning bucket.
The absolute worst call of the season. No call. And enough's enough. We've done it the right way. We've called the league. We've sent in clips. We're sick of hearing the same stuff over and over again.
Sound courtesy of House of Highlights. For New York, Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Brunson are listed as questionable on the injury report. On the other side, Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum are also questionable. Tip-off is set for 7:30 at the Garden. And finally, moving down to Florida, the Mets and Yankees. In Port St. Lucie, the Mets took down the Marlins 7-1. Adrian Hauser made a nice first impression in the orange and blue, allowing just 1 hit across 2 innings. Hoping to crack the big league roster, veteran Ji-Man Choi hit a home run. Meanwhile, top prospects Drew Gilbert and Alex Ramirez combined for 3 RBIs. Over in Port Charlotte, the Yankees fell to the Rays 4-2. Presumptive 5th starter Clark Schmidt allowed a run in his 2 innings of work. Anthony Volpe also contributed with an RBI single. With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Kenny Foreman, WRHU.
That'll do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU News team. Engineering our show this evening is Jason Spiller.
Thank you for tuning into Newsline, only here on your 4-time Marconi Award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
Access real-time local Long Island, New York, and global news along with content from WRHU Talent, Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 6.
And tune back in from 7 to 9 Monday through Friday morning for our talk show, where we discuss Long Island life, national news, and international issues from the minds and mouths of Hofstra students on the morning wake-up call.
Lastly, check us out on social media at WRHU News for behind-the-scenes content.
For Newsline, I'm Alexa D'Amato.
And I'm Angel Ravelo.
Thank you for listening.
And have a wonderful night.
Newsline is a presentation of Long Island's largest radio news team, comprised of nationally recognized student broadcasters, winners of numerous awards from the Associated Press, Society of Professional Journalists, Radio Television News Directors Association, Hearst Corporation, Long Island Press Club, and other prestigious organizations. Newsline is researched and produced by student journalists using the Hofstra News Hub, cutting-edge multimedia news gathering technology, located in Hofstra's School of Communication. To learn more about News Hub and the Hofstra School of Communication, log on to hofstra.edu. To learn more more about News Hub and the Hofstra School of Communication, log on to WRHU.org.